Alright, so hi out there in the YouTube world, it's me, the Puzzle Master, and in this video we're going to be doing number 19 in the Nakshatra series, which is Mula. And in this sign, we're just entering into Sagittarius, so we also want to remember that whenever you're going over the cusps, like normally nakshatras define the cusp signs very well. However, there's three places in the zodiac signs, and that's between fire and water, where there is high karmic energies or dues that need to be paid. So the energies can be very intense when it lies close to the fence. So if you're a Mula sign, the closer you are to the cusp with the previous, so with the water of Jesta in Scorpio, then yeah, just remember that. And so this symbol of Mula is a tied bunch of roots. So that's like its symbolic denotation, which attributes its meaning of having to get to the bottom of everything, and that it is like similar to roots. It draws nutrients and information from things around it, not necessarily that it is so giving with information itself. Its class is Butcher, and for this nakshatra sign it actually kind of applies in such a way that it cuts away anything that has outlived its usefulness. It cuts out desires and attachments, and this strongly links to the cycle of death and rebirth, because everything dies, like eventually. Like this is kind of this sign has a little bit of a darker attribute to it, because its nature is also demon, and so that denotes even more malefic influence in its nature. Being a little more self-oriented, not caring about the collective so much, not necessarily being like self-centered or anything, like, because it's not the sun. Its ruler is Ketu, so it's all about the mind, and it's the shadow side of the moon. And Ketu rules over. It's very similar to the planet Saturn, which is like higher knowledge and information, trials and tribulations. But when it's Ketu, it reflects to our mind. It's very similar to our moon, but it's more of like the shadow side of the moon, where Rahu is like the shadow side of the sun. Its symbol, as I said, is tied bunch of roots, and that is how it kind of represents that it is at the core of everything. Its animal in the nakshatra, when it comes for sexual or relationship compatibility, is a dog, and specifically a dog that is howling. This links to Ardra, which is the other zodiac sign that has the dog for compatibility. So Ardra is in Gemini, so for compatibility, this sign would do well with that. Its element is air, so very communicational, very about higher-minded thoughts, not like the other elements. And it's the myths that are related to it are Mula actually translates to the root, or the center, or the innermost core. So that's why its symbol isn't just roots, it's a tied bunch of roots. Like, think of a ball of roots that are like bound. Its god that rules over this is Nariti, which translates into calamity. And there's a bunch of different mythology that actually is attributed to this, where there is some good aspects if you want to do further research into the mythology, but a majority of it has to do with like the god Nariti birthed like 3 children or something, and all 3 of them, it was like destruction, chaos, and I don't remember, like, yeah, you can look up the myths for it, but know that, like, if that's your nature, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that that's kind of a part of your essence and like in your nature. So it's more to be accepted and to be, allowed, and like that's what all this stuff is really good for, giving perspective. And the main ideas that are attributed with Mula are stripping the externals. They're very opposed to worldly prosperity, like, so they're not all about like Maya and like having to build up. Like, they don't really care what other people think. Penetrating to the fundamentals, like to the core, to the root. They like all branches of learning, so they're very knowledgeable people. They make philosophers, scientists, etc. But with that, they are very basic in their nature as a bundled roots. Like, they're very absorbent, and they can absorb lots of different information from a wide variety of sources around them. But they still are, bound in their nature. Finite, limited, and very representative of tradition. So, family. Traits that are associated with this sign are that they like to get to the bottom of everything. So they're very like of the nakshatra, they're kind of like the detective of the nakshatra. They are curious of all the different roots, causes, and effects of things, and like what set things in motion. They like knowing the psychological aspects of things of that nature. They are like things that are hidden. And this, as I said previously, applies to the different facets and different psychological realms that human nature can fall into due to different situations, and how even like with psychology and all that, they would love this kind of stuff because they're like the detective of the nakshatras. They love things that are mysterious. They like the esoteric. They are able to project talent. So like whatever amount, like if they want to learn about something as being a root, they are very absorbent of that information if they apply themselves to it, and then they will be knowledgeable of it. It's just in their nature. It's not overly complicated to them. Like a root, it's just in its nature. They are able to learn from their past lives, and they always have the need to investigate. They're prone to diseases without symptoms. So this kind of attributes to the whole psychological nature of this sign, being with K2, the mind. They might worry themselves to sick, meaning that they might get sick from things that they didn't even have, but because they thought they had it, they get it. Because where your thoughts go and your energy and attention goes is what happens. They're very restless, and they do not stop until they have exercised their will. So they can be very opinionated and forthright and straightforward, and if they disagree with you, they will simply state that, and it's not necessarily because they're the roots. They wouldn't debate or talk about something if they didn't know about it, and if it's new information, then they would just take it in. They're very impulsive, very individual. So it's not like a Leo, but just like I previously said, they wouldn't discuss something if they didn't know about it. They're very easily arrogant and egotistical. They have strength for heavy responsibility, and they are a lot stronger than they realize. So they might come off a lot more timid or kind, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have a lot of inner energy that is hidden within them as a root. The root what gives the energy to the whole tree. If you think about all the symbology that goes beyond and in depth into the sign meaning. And in their appearance, physically, they will have prominent nose and or ears, and a slightly thicker lower lip. So, yes, I hope that this video has been informative and helpful, and we'll see you in Purva Ashada. So, that's the second sign in Sagittarius. And so, Sagittarius is the philosopher, it's the archer, rules over travel, philosophy, and scientist. But it also has the darker side, which, is more animalistic. And the beast, that's why it's a centaur, has a human nature, which is very wise, but also it's dualistic in that animalistic side. But this nakshatra zooms in and it gives it more specific information, and I hope that it helped you. Mwah, and we'll see you in Purva Ashada. Bye for now.